Hello everyone, this is Asra Sultana, Assistant Professor in Triple Department, working in ISL Engineering College. I am taking the subject Electrical Machines 1 for Triple second year students. Today's class I am going to tell about the torque equation of a DC motor, the derivation of the torque equation and types of torque, and a small numerical based on this torque equation. So in the previous classes we have seen about armature reaction and commutation. So let us see what exactly was the commutation. Currents induced in the armature conductors of a DC generator will be alternating in nature. But as it is a DC generator, we want DC output, DC voltage we want. So we are converting the alternating voltage into DC voltage, and for this purpose we need a commutator. Commutator is nothing but a mechanical rectifier which converts AC to DC. And the role of the brushes is to collect the current from the commutator and give it to the external load. Okay. So the change from a generated alternating voltage to the direct current applied involves the process of commutation. So what we are telling you is the currents induced in the armature conductors of a DC generator are alternating in nature, and the change from a generated alternating current to the direct current applied involves the process of commutation. When the conductors of armature are under the north pole, current which is induced will flow in one direction, and current flows in the opposite direction when they are under the south pole. So when the armature conductors are under north pole, current will be induced in whatever current induced, it will flow in one direction, say positive direction. Now, when the current flows in the when the conductors are under the influence of south pole, current will flow in the opposite directions in the negative direction. So once the current is positive, next time it is in the negative direction when it is going from north pole to south pole. So we don't want this alternating nature. We don't want this positive to negative. We want only positive positive. So we are going for a mechanical rectifier. So which is like a split phase or okay. So what is happening here? A commutator will be having two segments A and B separated by a substance called as mica. And so what is happening when conductor is moving? Commutator is moving, but the brushes are stationary. Okay, so brushes are not moving along with the commutator. So because of this, what is happening? The direction of current is same. That is, it is going in only one direction. It is not going to other direction with the help of a commutator. So as the conductor passes through the influence of the north pole and enters the south pole, current in them will be reversed, and reversal of current will take place along the magnetic neutral axis or brush axis. When the brush span has two commutator segments, winding element connected to these segments will be short circuited. So what exactly is the term commutation? Commutation means change that takes place in a winding element during the period of a short circuit by a brush. So in these diagrams we have seen there are four diagrams, figure A, B, C, D, where we have seen the direction of current. Coil 1, coil 2, coil 3, and so in the position shown in figure, current I flowing towards brush from left hand side passes through the coil in a clockwise direction, and in the figure B, position of coil shows that same amount of current is carried by all the coils, and the direction of current is also similar, but coil is too short circuited by brush. And in the figure C, brush makes contact with bars A and B and short circuits the coil 1, and the current is still I from the left hand side and I from right hand side. So these two currents can reach the brush without passing through coil 1 as shown in the figure. So in figure D, bar B will have bar B just have left the brush and the short circuit of coil 1 coil has ended, and it is necessary for the current reaching the brush from right hand side in the anti-clockwise direction as shown in this figure. So during the period of short circuit of an armature coil by a brush, current in the coil must be reversed and also brought up to its full value in the reverse direction. Time of the short circuit is called as period of commutation. Current in the short circuited coil varies during the brief interval of the short circuit, and as shown in the figure we can see delayed or under commutation, ideal commutation, and over commutation. So in this figure, we can see curve B showing the current changes from plus I to minus I linearly in the commutation period, and such a commutation is called as ideal commutation or straight line commutation. And if the current through the coil well has not reached its full value in the position in figure, then since the coil 2 carrying full current, difference between the currents through elements 2 and 1 has to jump from commutator bar to the brush in the form of a spark. So cause of sparking at the commutator is the failure of the current in the short circuit elements to reach the full value in the reverse direction by the end of short circuit, and this is called as under commutation or delayed commutation. So curve of current against time in such a case is shown in figure by curve A. In ideal commutation, curve B, current of commutating coil changes linearly from plus I to minus I during the commutation period. And in actual practice, current in the short-circuited coil after the commutation period does not reach its full value. And this is due to the fact that the short-circuited coil offers self-inductance in addition to the resistance. Rate of change of current is so high that the self-inductance of the coil sets up a back EMF which opposes the reversal. Since the current in the coil has to change from plus I to minus I, total change is 2I. If Tc is the time of short circuit and L is the inductance of the coil, that is self-inductance of short-circuited coil plus mutual inductances of neighboring coils, then average value of self-induced voltage is L di by dt, that is L into 2I by Tc, that is 2Li by Tc. This is called as reactance voltage. So we have seen reactance voltage also in detail in the previous classes. So the large voltage appearing between commutator segments to which coil is connected will cause sparking at the brushes of the machine, and the sparking of the commutator is much harmful and it will damage both commutator surface and brushes. And its effect is cumulative, which may lead to a short circuit of the machine with an arc around the commutator from brush to brush. So we have seen the reactance voltage. Difficulty experienced by the current in attaining its full value in the reverse direction by the end of short circuit period is due to the production of self-induced EMF, that is the reactance voltage in the coil undergoing commutation. So current in the coil has to change from plus I to minus I, and the total change in the current is 2I. If WB is the brush width and WM is the thickness of mica insulation and Vc is the velocity of commutator, then the time of commutation or short circuit is the time required by the commutator in moving a distance equal to circumferential thickness of brush minus the thickness of mica insulation between two commutator segments, or Tc equal to Wb minus Wm by Vc seconds. If the self-inductance of the coil is L henries, then the value of self-induced EMF or reactance voltage is L di by dt, or L into 2Ic by Wb minus Wm Vc volts. This is in case of linear commutation, and in case of sinusoidal commutation, its value is 2.22 L IC by Wb minus Wc, Wb minus Wm. So self-inductance of the coil is N square into 4 IC plus 0.8 IF into 10 power minus 6. Total flux per ampere is L equal to N square into 8 IC plus 0.8 IF into 10 power minus 6 Henry. Value of self-inductance determined is only when the brush spans only one commutator segment, that is only one coil is short circuited at a time. If the brush width is such that it short circuits m coils at a time, then self-inductance is given as Nm square into 8 IC plus 0.8 IF into 10 power minus 6 Henry, and reactance voltage is LdI by dt, that is Mn square into 8 IC plus 0.8 IF into 2I by Tc into 10 power minus 6 volts. So in this above expression, we can see that reactance voltage is proportional to the square of number of turns in an armature coil. So for good commutation, single turn coils will be used, and this can be done in large machines where large number of commutator segments required, but such a winding will not make segments too narrow, but it is impossible with small machines. We have seen a numerical also based on this topic. So in this numerical, we have to calculate the average induced EMF in each coil during commutation, and we are assuming here as a linear commutation. 4-pole wave wound DC machine running at 1500 rpm has a commutator of 30 cm diameter, and if armature current is 150 amps, thickness is 1.25 cm, self-inductance is 0.07 Henry. So calculate average EMF. So substitute the values. Average induced EMF is L into 2 IC by TC. First find out IC, what is IC and TC. Okay, to find out IC, armature current by number of parallel paths. So armature current is 150 and number of parallel paths is 2 because it is wave connected. So it is 75 amps current per conductor. Then TC, if you have to calculate brush width WB by Vc. WB is given as 1.25 centimeters, so convert it into meter, it will become 1.25 into 10 power minus 2 divided by VC. VC can be calculated by pi d n by 60. So pi into diameter is given as 30 centimeters, so 30 into 10 power minus 2 is 0.3, and is speed is 1500 rpm divided by 60. So we will calculate VC like this, and WB by VC will is given as TC. So average induced EMF is L into 2IC by TC. Substitute all the values, we will get the answer. So here we have to calculate the reactance voltage for a machine having following particulars, that is commutator segments is given, revolutions per minute, brush width, coefficient of self-induction, current per coil. So reactance voltage is L into 2IC by TC. Again same, substitute all the values, find out the reactance voltage. So there are three methods of improving commutation. First one is by use of high resistance brushes. First method of obtaining sparkless commutation is by use of high resistance brushes. When the current from left reaches the commutator segment A, there are two paths open to it. First path is straight across the bar A to the brush. Second is round the short circuited coil in the clockwise direction and across the bar B. So with brushes of low contact resistance, there is no inducement for the current to take second path, but if high contact resistance brushes such as carbon brushes are employed, some of the current will take to second path through short circuited coil, then to the bar B and then to the brush, because contact area of brush with bar A is smaller than that with bar B. As the bar B passes the brush, the contact resistance R2 increases due to the decrease in contact area with bar B, while due to the increase in contact area with bar A, contact resistance R1 decreases, and so allows the current to take path through segment A until the current in the short circuited coil becomes zero. As the commutator advances further, contact area of bar B with the brush reduces, which causes the current in the right hand path to take the path of least resistance, that is through the short circuited coil. The direction of current in the short circuited coil will be reversed. Hence, high contact resistance helps the current in attaining its full value in the reverse direction after the period of short circuit, and therefore we can have a good commutation. Carbon brushes also lubricate and polish the commutator as it rotates. But the drawback is that high voltage drop will be there. Okay. Second method of commutation, improving commutation is by shifting of brushes. So this method will be employed for improving commutation in non-commutating pole machines, and brushes will be shifted so that the sides of a coil, as it passes through its commutation period, will cut the sufficient flux from the main post to develop the necessary commutating EMF. And the direction of brush shift must be such that the cutting of a portion of the main flux will induce a commutating EMF in the coil, which will be in the same direction as that of the current through the coil after it has passed through the commutating period. So therefore, for generator operation, brushes must be shifted forward in the direction of rotation of the machine. For motoring action, brushes must be shifted backwards with respect to the rotation of the machine. So this is a diagram showing the brush shift method for satisfactory commutation in DC machine. Left hand side is showing for generator, right hand side is showing for motor. So it is desirable to move the brushes a little further forward than the magnetic neutral zone in order that the short circuited coil may be cutting the fringing flux of the main pole immediately in front, and voltage will be induced in the coil in the direction in which the current is about to flow. So drawback of this method is that for best commutation, brushes have to be shifted for every variation of load, and also larger the forward shift of the brushes of generator or the backward shift of the motor, greater will be the demagnetizing ampere turns. Third method of improving commutation is by use of interpoles or commutating poles. So in practice, carbon brushes are generally used and there is an appreciable resistance at the brush contacts, and the effect of this resistance is to aid commutation, but it is not sufficient to constitute a solution of the problem. What is really required therefore is to produce in some way that in that coil, during that time it is short circuited, and EMF of proper magnitude and direction to overcome the EMF of self-induction and to cause cause complete reversal of the current in the time available. And this is accomplished in practice by placing a narrow pole called as interpole or a commutating pole over the short circuited coil, as we can see it in the figure. This diagram is showing with low resistance brushes in non-commutating poles and with high resistance brushes in commutating pole. Ideal commutation. So we have seen numericals also based on the topic, based on commutation. Determine the number of turns on each commutating pole of a 6-pole machine if flux density in the air gap of the commutating pole is 0.5 Weber per meter square at full load and the effective length of the air gap is 4 millimeter. Full load current is 500 amps and armature is lap wound with 540 conductors. Assume number of ampere turns required for the remainder of the magnetic circuit to be 1/10 of that of the air gap. So we are finding out first current per conductor IC is IA by A, that is 500 by 6. Because it is lap wound, A is equal to P. So that is 500 by 6. And armature cross ampere turns per pole ATC is ZIC by 2P. That is, after substitution we will get some value 3750. Flux density in interpolar air gap BIP is 0.5 Weber per meter square. And interpolar air gap is 4 mm, that is 0.004 meter. Ampere turns required for interpolar air gap is BIP by mu naught IIP, and ampere turn required for iron parts is 1/10 of that required for interpolar gap, that is 1/10 into 1592. So total ampere turns will be 1592 plus 159 1751. Okay, and interpole ampere turns required is 3750 plus 1751. The interpole ampere turns must be great enough to create commutating flux and also neutralize the ampere across ampere turns. So number of turns on each interpole is API by IA, that is 5501 by 511 is the answer. Now let us see back EMF or counter EMF. So we are seeing this before. Actually, you are having DC motors in 4th unit, students, but in the 2nd unit it is mentioned as torque, derivation of torque equation in DC machine. That's why I am telling you about motors. So first we have, so operating principle and all I will tell in the 4th unit only, students. Here just I am telling you what exactly is back EMF and what is the voltage equation, power equation and torque equation of a DC motor. Because EMF equation we will see in the generator and torque equation we will see in the case of a motor. So motor is a machine which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy, and its principle of operation is based on the fact that whenever a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a mechanical force, and the direction of this force is given by Fleming's left hand rule, and the equation is given as F is equal to BIL. So after motoring action, generating action will take place inside the motor. That is, what is generating action? Conductor cuts the magnetic field, EMF is induced. So obviously, when we are giving a connection to the armature conductors and it is running or moving in the magnetic field, so EMF will be induced in the armature conductors also. That is, after motoring action, generating action will take place inside the machine. So EMF is induced in the motor also. So that EMF is called as back EMF or counter EMF. So in a DC motor, after motoring action, there exists a generating action. That is, when the armature of DC motor rotates under the influence of driving torque, armature conductors will move through the magnetic field, and hence, according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, EMF will be induced in them as in the case of a generator. The induced EMF will act in opposite direction to the applied voltage according to Lenz's law, and it is called as back EMF or counter EMF. It is denoted as EB, E suffix B. Okay, so according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, because conductors are cutting the flux, EMF will be induced in them, and according to Lenz's law, EMF induced will act in a direction opposite to the applied voltage. So it is called as counter EMF or back EMF. It is denoted as EB. Let us see Lenz's law. Already Lenz's law we have seen in first unit, students. So once again, by applying Lenz's law, so we are seeing an application of Lenz's law. Okay. So according to Lenz's law, direction of induced EMF is such that it opposites the cause producing it. According to Lenz's law, direction of induced EMF is such that it will oppose the cause producing it. Though back EMF is denoted as EB, basically it gets generated by the generating action. So its magnitude can be determined by EMF equation, that is EB is equal to P5Zn by 68 volts, where all the symbols carry the same meaning as in case of a generator. So in case of a generator, what we have seen, P is equal to number of poles, phi is the flux per pole in Webers, Z is the number of conductors, number of armature conductors, N is the speed in RPM, revolutions per minute, A is the number of parallel paths, EB is the back EMF. Whereas in case of generator, EB was denoted as EG. Okay. So now P phi Zn can be written as phi Zn by 60 into P by A also, or whatever it can be. But ultimately numerator will carry P phi Zn, all these four terms, and denominator will carry 60A. Okay, you have to remember this thing, students. Whatever may be the style of writing this equation, but numerator should contain P phi Zn. Denominator should contain 60 into A. Okay, so back EMF equation is same as the EMF generated in a generator. It is given as P phi Zn by 60A. EB is always less than applied voltage, although this difference is small when the motor is running under normal conditions. See students, this is the diagram of a shunt motor. So types of motors and all we will see in the next classes, of course. But still I am telling you that this is a shunt motor where armature winding is in parallel with the field winding, and this is the direction of current. This is line current. This is IL is line current. In case of motor it is line, whereas in case of generator it will be load current. We will see in detail, okay, later. So this is applied voltage, line current, armature current, shunt field current. So IL is equal to IA plus ISH. So let us consider a shunt motor as shown in the figure. When DC voltage V is applied across the motor terminals, field magnets will be excited and armature conductors will be supplied with current. Therefore, driving torque will act on the armature, which will begin to rotate. As the armature rotates, back EMF is induced, which will oppose the cause, that is applied voltage V, and the applied voltage has to force current through the armature against the back EMF EB. Electric work done in overcoming and causing the current to flow against EB is converted into mechanical energy developed in the armature. It follows therefore that energy conversion in DC motor is only possible due to the production of back EMF. So what we are telling here is that the importance of back EMF is that it will act as a regulating mechanism. Back EMF will act as a regulating mechanism. So see when we see the significance of back EMF, the electric now before that we will see here electric work done in overcoming and causing the current to flow against EB is converted into mechanical energy developed in the armature. It will flow the it follows therefore that energy conversion in DC motor is only possible due to the production of EB. Net voltage across armature circuit is V minus EB, and the resistance, if RA is the armature circuit resistance, then IA will be equal to V minus EB by RA. So significance of back EMF, let us see. Presence of back EMF makes the DC motor a self-regulating machine. That is, it will make the motor to draw as much armature current as is just sufficient to develop the torque required by the load. So, this back EMF will make the motor self-regulating machine. That is, motor will draw that much current only how much is required by the as per the load. Okay, in that way it is acting as a regulating mechanism. So first one, let us see when the motor is running on no load, small torque is required to overcome the friction and windage losses. So armature current IA is small and back EMF is nearly equal to applied voltage. So when there is no load, not much current is required to start the motor. So applied voltage is equal to the back EMF. If motor is suddenly loaded, first effect is to cause the armature to slow down. Therefore, speed at which the armature conductors move through the field is reduced and hence back EMF also falls. So decreased back EMF allows large current to flow. So current and larger current will increase the torque. So suddenly loaded means what is happening here? Uh, if suddenly loaded means you have to make the motor should slow down. So speed at which the conductors move through the field should be reduced and hence back EMF will fall. Speed is getting reduced because whenever load increases, speed decreases. So load is increasing, speed decreasing, EB also falls. So decreased EMF will cause the armature conductors to draw more current from the supply. Hence torque is also more. Now third point we will see if the load on the motor is decreased. So we have seen no load, suddenly loaded with high load, and if load is decreased. So third one. So if the load on the motor is decreased, driving torque is momentarily in excess of the requirement. So armature will be accelerated as the armature speed increases. So load decreases, speed increases. Back EMF also increases and will cause the armature current to decrease. So motor will stop accelerating when the armature current is just sufficient to produce the reduced torque required by the load. So load decreases, what is happening? Speed increases, back EMF increases and causes the armature current to decrease. So in this way, we can see that it is acting like a regulating mechanism. Let us see now the voltage equation of a DC motor. So we are considering here a shunt motor. So where V is the applied voltage, EB is the back EMF, RA is the armature resistance, IA is the armature current. So back EMF EB acts in opposite direction to the applied voltage. So net voltage across the circuit will be V minus EB and IA is given as V minus EB by RA. Or V is equal to EB plus IARA. Applied voltage is equal to back EMF plus IARA is the voltage equation of a DC motor. Let us see the power equation. Multiply the voltage equation by IA. So we will get the power equation. V into IA is equal to EB IA plus IA square RA is the power equation of the DC motor. And EIA is called as electric power supplied to the armature. EBIA is power developed by armature and IA square RA is the electric power wasted in the armature. This is armature copper losses. So armature input is equal to armature output plus armature copper losses. Let us see the condition of maximum power. Mechanical power developed by motor is PM is EBIA and PM is V in IA minus IA square RA according to power equation. And since V and RA are fixed, power developed by the motor depends upon armature current. For maximum current, there is a condition that differentiation of PM with respect to IA should be equal to 0. So let us differentiate this equation dPM by dIA with respect to IA we are differentiating. So now what it will become? V into dIA by dIA. So it will become V minus 2IA RA or 2IA RA is equal to V or IA RA is equal to V by 2. Now in the voltage equation that is V is equal to EB plus IA RA which we have seen for a shunt motor. In this equation if you substitute in place of IA RA as V by 2. So V equal to EB plus V by 2 or EB equal to V minus V by 2 that is EB is equal to V by 2. So power developed by the motor is maximum when the back EMF is equal to half of the applied voltage. Let us see now the torque equation of a DC motor, very important. So you may expect this in long questions or short questions, whatever it can be in the final exam. So this topic is very important. So let us consider a wheel which is rotating at a speed of n rpm. And let us first see what exactly is torque. The turning or twisting force about an axis is called as torque. So consider a wheel of radius r meters acted upon by a circumferential force F newtons as shown in the figure. And this is the figure. Okay, here this is the radius r of the wheel and the F is the force and this is the direction of rotation of the motor. So wheel is rotating at a speed of n rpm and the angular speed of the wheel is given as omega is 2 pi n by 60 radians per second. Work done in one revolution is force into distance traveled in one revolution, that is F into 2 pi r joules, and P equal to power developed, that is power equation is given as work done by time. So that is equal to F into 2 pi r by time for one revolution. F into 2 pi r by time for one revolution is 60 by n. So F into r we are writing at one place and 2 pi n by 60 at one place. So P equal to T into omega. F into r is torque, 2 pi n by 60 is omega. So P is equal to T into omega, where T is the torque in Newton meter and omega is the angular speed in radians per second. Let TA be gross torque developed by the armature of the motor and it is also called as armature torque. Gross mechanical power developed in the armature is EBIA as seen from our equation. So if speed of the motor is n rpm, then power in armature is armature torque into omega. Power in armature is EBIA, armature torque is given as TA, omega is given as 2 pi n by 60. So, but EB equation is P pi divided by 60A. So, substitute this EB value in this equation, you will get P pi divided by 60A into IA is equal to TA into 2 pi n by 60. So, we will get torque equation as after calculation, substitutions and all. So, TA just cross multiplying and cancelling of the terms. So, TA is equal to 1 by 2 pi phi IA into PZ by A, PZ by A, or 1 by 2 pi value is 0.159. Okay, so TA can be written as 0.159 phi IA into PZ by A Newton meter. Okay, there is one more term here, students, you can see here. So, from this equation, I can write TA is EBIA by 2 pi n by 60 or 60 by 2 pi into EBIA by n, or TA is 9.55 EBIA by n Newton meter. So, sometimes this can be used in some numericals where we are given the EBIA and values, or according to these values, we can use this equation. Both are okay. Okay, so you can take this as torque equation or this one. Anything is okay. Let us see a small numerical based on torque equation. A 4-pole DC motor takes a 50 amp armature current. Armature has lap connected 480 conductors. Flux per pole is 20 milliweber. Calculate the gross torque developed by the armature of the motor. Let us see the solution. First write the given data. P is equal to 4. A is equal to P equal to 4 because this is the lap connected winding. So A is equal to P. Z is given as 480. Phi is given as 20 milliweber. Milli can be converted into milliweber can be converted into webers. So 10 milli means take it as 10 power minus 3. IA equal to 50 amps. Torque equation is 0.159 into 5 IA PZ by A. Substitute to all the values. 76.394 Newton meter. Types of torque. So let us see how many types of torques are there in a DC motor. Torque is developed in the armature and hence gross torque produced is denoted as TA. While transmitting power from armature to load through shaft, there is a power loss due to friction, windage and air losses. See students, I will tell you in detail about losses also in one class, like in third unit. Okay, we will see how many losses are there. What exactly are the losses, what are the formulas of various losses. Okay. So while transmitting power from armature to load through shaft, there is a power loss due to friction, windage and air losses, and torque required to overcome these losses is called as lost torque. See students, one thing I want to tell everyone, so input should be equal to output, okay, but it is not so because of presence of losses, so input is equal to output plus losses. So input is output plus losses, or output minus input input minus input is output plus losses. This equation you should know. Okay. So what is happening here? Armature torque is not the torque which we are taking at the shaft. In between, you can see that some amount of torque will be lost because of friction, windage, and iron losses. And that lost torque is denoted as TA. And the torque which is available at the shaft for doing useful work is known as load torque or shaft torque, which is denoted as TSH. And this TSH is always less than armature torque. So armature torque will be equal to what? Lost torque plus shaft torque. Thank you everyone for watching the video. I hope the video is clear to everyone. Please watch the video from start till the end and give your attendance. So having 75% attendance is mandatory for all the students to write the mid exam. Thanks for watching the video.